Hey everyone, it's Danny Haifong here, and I am joined by Scott Ritter, former UN weapons inspector, deep friend of this show. As we speak, Israel is conducting major strikes on Iran, and so we're just going to get started right away. Scott, talk about what has happened here. What do we know so far, and what is the implications of all of this?
Well, Danny, as you know, I've been saying for some time now that Iran has positioned itself to become a nuclear weapons threshold state. It has openly bragged about this, and it is behaving in a manner which, you know, only exacerbates the problem. Iran is its own worst enemy, and now it's paying the price. Israel has launched a massive, um, Pearl Harbor style attack against Iran. Working in concert with the United States. I think that's one of the important messages that has to come out of this, is that this is a joint Israeli-U.S. attack. The United States has tried to create the impression that it has distanced itself, that it is not part of this, but it's an absolute lie. The President of the United States has put out a social media posting that directly implicates him and the United States in the planning and preparation of this attack. And it's clear that the United States and Israel conspired to create an impression that they were seeking a diplomatic off-ramp with a sixth round of negotiations to be held in Qatar on Sunday, and that Israel would withhold any decision on potential military action until after this. The United States helped feed this perception, and this was designed to lull Iran into a false sense of complacency. But the bottom line is Iran fooled around, and Iran has found out. Now we'll find out what capability Iran has in terms of retaliation, but the Israeli attack is extremely sophisticated. I think I was on your program. I know I was speaking with Professor Morandi when I said, when this happens, it'll begin with a decapitation strike. I said it straight to his face. And I also told him how it will happen. I said, Iran, the Israelis have shown that they have drone operation capability inside Iran. We saw that manifested when they launched a drone strike against Hania in Tehran on Inauguration Day. And I said, they will use these drones to assassinate senior Iranian leadership. And they have done just that. This is a decapitation strike designed to rip Iran's, hardliners out of the picture. We know, and we have known for some time now, and we've discussed this, the Iranian president does not want confrontation. The Iranian president is looking for a diplomatic off-ramp. He's the one who put the kibosh on True Promise 3 being launched a while back. He has consistently said that he's looking for better relations with the West, a negotiated outcome. He has been vociferously opposed by hardliners in Iran, especially in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard command structure, but also from within the senior leadership in advisory bodies advising the supreme leader. Shamkhani was somebody who I've called out consistently for his irresponsible rhetoric when it comes to Iran's nuclear threshold status. You can't sit there and tell Israel that Iran is ready to have a nuclear weapon anytime it wants to, and not expect Israel to take action, not expect the United States to take action. Now, Shamkhani is either dead in the hospital, and the senior Iranian Revolutionary Guard structure has been eliminated. Now, they've been replaced, but how long will it take these replacements to get things in order to be able to launch a concerted strike? Meanwhile, what the Israelis are hoping is that you've created a window of uncertainty inside Iran. So that there will be voices saying, we don't need to escalate this. Israel has come out and said, let us willingly step aside and let us finish the destruction of your nuclear facilities, and we won't strike your oil production, meaning we'll let you live and thrive as long as we get to finish this. Now, I don't think this is going to be what the Iranians do, but the point is, this is an extremely sophisticated attack carried out by Israel, once again showing that Israel has penetrated Iran to an extent that is matched only by its penetration of Hezbollah. How did Israel know the home addresses of all the Iranian senior leaders? How did they know where they would be home, what rooms would they be in order to carry out this strike? That shows that Israel, has its intelligence hooks deep inside. And the sophisticated of their targeting, we don't know enough about the specific targets struck, but we do know that Israel like the United States, lacks the conventional capacity to take out Iran's deeply buried infrastructure. But if you take a look at, again, the Iranians are their own worst enemy. They really are. Statements made by Iran in the aftermath of the IAEA's board of directors statement, where they talked about what they're going to do. We're going to install advanced centrifuges. We're going to open up a third underground facility. We're going to make movements so that we are on the cusp of having nuclear weapons. Well, gosh, tell the Israelis you're going to do that, and they blow the places up. And they have struck almost every above ground facility of note, eliminating a significant percentage, upwards of 70% of Iran's, critical infrastructure when it comes to both nuclear and ballistic missiles. Yes, there is significant infrastructure underground preserved, but to what extent that will be able to function viably in the short term without the support infrastructure, we have yet to see. But this is an extraordinarily sophisticated, thorough, damaging attack by Israel and the United States against Iran. The sustainability of this strike is unknown. I mean, we've spoken about Iranian air defenses. There are no Iranian air defenses anymore because Iran launched drone strikes that took them out. This is a stunning attack by Israel, the scope and scale of which we truly are unable to ascertain at this point in time. To what extent Iran will be able to gather its resources and launch a retaliation, they're speaking about it. The Iranian military is speaking boldly about it. But, I guess we have to wait and see. But either way, I'll make the final point here. This isn't about Iran's nuclear infrastructure. That's just the excuse. This is a regime change operation, just as I told Professor Miranda it would be. If this decision was made to initiate major military confrontation between Israel and Iran, there is only one outcome, and that is the destruction of the Iranian regime. And the only way Iran survives is to destroy Israel. And that's the level of war that we're facing right now.
Maybe you can talk about some of the details of this operation. I mean, we know that Hossein Salami, the IRGC chief, has been killed. We know that Commander Major General Mohammad Bagheri has been killed. We also know that there have been several nuclear scientists who have been killed in Iran. We also know that many residential areas have been targeted in Iran, in Tehran in particular. We know that our friend Professor Morandi was sharing some of those horrific images. Now, you said that Iran is preparing a potential response, but perhaps before we get to that, you could talk about exactly what happened. We have reports about Mossad having a literal drone operation inside of Iran that helped facilitate these strikes on major leadership. And of course, we know about the strikes on the so-called nuclear facilities. So talk about maybe some of the details of what you know so far about what happened.
Well, first of all, I just want to ask a question of a personal nature. So you have been in contact with Professor Miranda, and you know that he's okay. He's
yeah. He's okay. I know that he responded to me. I believe it was yesterday, and he's going on programs. So I think
okay.
He's okay. Thankfully.
No, I'm grateful because he is a friend and a colleague, and of course, I'm concerned about everybody in Iran, but war always strikes hardest when it involves friends. So I'm grateful to hear that he's fine. Look, we need to predicate any discussion about what's going on. We are in the early stages of a conflict. Truth is the first victim of any war, and both sides of this conflict will seek to spin data in a way that most beneficially represents and articulates and supports their goals and objectives. And so I always hesitate to say we know this, we know that, we know this, because we don't know anything. We've heard, we've read, but true knowledge only comes from a more, thorough assessment of confirmed fact. So I just want to say that because, I want people to know that anything that I put forward now is, speculation, informed speculation, but speculation nonetheless, based upon an incomplete set of data and a lot of reading into things. Israel has claimed that the Mossad has carried out a very, when I say Israel has claimed, we have Israeli media sources reporting from what they claim to be, knowledgeable sources within the Israeli security establishment. Given the fact that Israel is a place where its media is not allowed to publish things related to the security of Israel without the approval of the Israeli government, and that Mossad is one of the more secretive intelligence agencies out there. If you have an Israeli source saying that they have spoken to somebody knowledgeable of a highly classified Mossad operation, this generally means that the Israeli government wants this information to be out there. And you have to ask yourself, why would the Israeli government want knowledge of a highly classified operation that parallels the Operation Spiderweb, what the Ukrainians were able to do in Russia with setting in these drone motherships and using them to strike Russian strategic bomber bases. Israel has apparently been able to replicate this on a grander scale and have drones that are not only able to come in and and assassinate senior leadership. If you take a look at some of the buildings that were struck in Tehran, you'll notice that they have holes punched through the side of an apartment building. How did that hole come in there? It didn't come in from an aerial assault. It came in from a drone. So somewhere in the vicinity of Tehran is a drone mothership or drone capabilities that were activated and directed on targets that required real-time intelligence, meaning that these people who were killed were actively tracked to the location that they were at. And the Israelis had a high degree of confidence that they were, in a very specific room. This is the same level of intelligence that was used to kill Hania in Tehran. I warned her. I said, if they can do that, guys, they can kill anybody. And apparently that's the truth. Israel now can kill anybody. So why would you want to give away this capability? Because you want to create terror. You want to create uncertainty, within Iran, especially when it comes to the competency of those who've been arguing in favor of a hardline stance regarding Iran's nuclear capability and Iran's ability to harm Israel. This drone capability also apparently has eviscerated Iran's air defense network, meaning that the ballistic missile defense shield that Iran has been constructing has been taken out by drones. The soft underbelly, I guess one would say. It also appears that Iran's immediate retaliation capacity in terms of deployed ballistic missile launch capability, the launchers that were out there. If you saw, Iran has disguised many of its launchers as trucks, is 35-foot trucks or longer, civilian trucks. But when the time comes, the truck will park, the canvas will be brought back, and you'll have a launcher that fires the missile. Apparently, a number of these were pre-positioned in the area to strike Israel, and these were taken out by drones. It also appears that many of these underground cities, you remember Professor Morandi spoke of them, the underground missile cities, they have been struck. To what level the damage has been done is, I don't know. But the bottom line is that Israel has very good intelligence, and I believe that Israel has launched what it believes to be close to a knockout blow against Iran's immediate retaliation capability. Whether Iran will be able to reconstitute retaliation and strike is yet to be seen. But I believe Israel also made a decision to strike against Iran's most capable Fatah 2 hypersonic missiles to take them out, because those are the ones that could do the most damage to Israel. But again, the level of planning here, the Israelis have been planning this strike together with the United States for some time now. The President of the United States, grossly irresponsible social media post on Truth Social, where he brags about how we gave Israel weapons specifically tasked or designed, intended to be used to kill Iranian leadership and destroy Iranian infrastructure, just proves that the United States has been part of this planning process for some time now. The intelligence that went into this is unreal. This isn't a matter of a bunch of Scott Ritters sitting back in an intelligence analysis facility, looking at aerial imagery, looking at electronic intercepts, looking at remote data to try and put together a target list. The intelligence here implies that Iran has been thoroughly penetrated from the top to the bottom and everything in between, and that there are no secrets. If you remember when the pager attack went off, and then how Iran targeted Hezbollah, very surgical strikes. They could only have that if Hezbollah was thoroughly penetrated, which it was. A years-long operation by Mossad to get inside Hezbollah. I believe that Israel succeeded in having the same level of penetration inside Iran, and we're seeing the manifestation of that as we speak. Very surgical precision strikes across the entire spectrum of target possibilities that were intended to create confusion and to create disruption and to eliminate capacity.
It certainly is a very expansive a strike, one that it's still ongoing. Israel says it's not finished, that it's going to continue to do this, and that it caught many of us by surprise. At least, certainly you were predicting that there was going to be a strike. But what's so critical about this is, I don't know if you remember, Scott, April 11th, Donald Trump said Iran had 60 days to meet the requirements that the United States was imposing on Iran. 60 days later, June 11th, suddenly Israel is conducting these strikes. So the United States, exactly as you said, it's definitely coordinated with the United States. Israel keeps saying it. The United States keeps pushing back and saying, no, we weren't involved. And then they'll say, well, maybe with logistics, maybe with this. But it seems like this was planned as perhaps the response to Iran's unwillingness to go along with U.S. terms around the nuclear negotiations. But perhaps you can comment on this, Scott, and then maybe also comment on the Iranian response now, because as you said, they've taken a significant hit. But what do you believe Iran could be capable of? Because Israel is still demonstrating a lot of concern about this. The United States is very concerned about this. This kind of strike, Scott, seems to be a prelude to what we were fearing over the last several years, which is a broad regional war, an explosive war that has such catastrophic consequences.
Well, first of all, I want to point out that if you recall earlier conversations that I was engaged in, I believe you and others, about Hezbollah, how we had said, based primarily upon the confidence exuded by Hezbollah in their leadership and past performance and capabilities, that Hezbollah had sort of a knockout blow in reserve against Israel, and that if Israel ever was to attack Hezbollah in a concerted fashion, that Hezbollah would be able to deliver precision strikes throughout the depth of the Israeli target deck and all that. No, Israel penetrated Hezbollah, took out that capacity, and Hezbollah turned out not to be able to carry out the actions that it had threatened it was prepared to do so. So I need to bring that up because, we have, and I have, and Professor Mirande has, and you have, we've been speaking about, the danger of a conflict with Iran because of Iran's purported ability to launch retaliation that would be devastating to Israel. That yes, Israel could launch this attack against Iran, but Iran would respond with thousands of missiles that would blanket Israel, eliminate Israel, do all this. And we believed it because Iran had demonstrated the capacity to launch missiles against Israel and to strike targets and to overcome Iron Dome. And Iran has a ballistic missile production facility, and they had overlaid this, and there's resilience and all this. But what nobody factored in is what happens if this solid edifice we're talking about, the Iranian defense establishment, has been thoroughly penetrated and turns out to really have a rotten core, and that there is no sustainability here. What if Israel has succeeded in gutting Iran's retaliatory capacity the same way that they gutted Hezbollah. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying that that appears to be the Israeli intent. So we won't know what Iran can do until Iran does it. And, we have the Iranian military saying that, Israel started this, our response will be lethal, and things of that nature. But until it manifests itself, until Iran is actually able to deliver on, its threats, one has to understand that the intent of the Israeli strike was to destroy capacity and to generate uncertainty. Iran has suffered a huge, huge loss. These senior leaders who were killed were central to Iran's planning and for the political fight that was taking place inside Iran. You can't ignore this. You can't ignore the fact that there was a significant political battle taking place inside Iran about its nuclear program, Israel, etc. And those people who the hardliners are all dead. I mean, this is a devastating strike. Now, there people have been replaced, but what's going to happen on the second round? Will Israel come out and take out these people? And then who's the third layer? Boom. This is what happened with Hezbollah. Nasrallah was killed. His successor was killed. His successor was killed. And eventually the Hezbollah stopped naming the successors and said, we're out. We finished. We're done. Is that, I believe that's the intent here. Whether or not Israel will be able to pull it off is another question. But the one thing you have to know about the Israelis is that they plan very thoroughly. And, they have thought this thing through. And we'll see whether they, we can pull it off. We've been giving Iran the benefit of the doubt in terms of its ability to deliver on, its promised potential. But this strike by Israel appears designed to disrupt that and to, destroy that and to deter potential. Again, Israel has put Iran's economic future on the table, that if Iran retaliates, Israel will take out Iran's oil production capabilities. Israel's violated every red line. Iran, what will Iran do now? Well, a quick tell, Iran says we're not going to participate in the Sunday negotiations. Well, of course not. They've been exposed as a facade. But Israel said, if our nuclear infrastructure is attacked, we will withdraw from the NPT and we will move towards becoming a nuclear weapon state. They were attacked. Where is that movement? What is Iran's intent here? Are they going to withdraw from the NPT? That's a decisive step. Are they going to begin the process of converting 60% enriched uranium into fissile material? The Israeli attacks were designed to disrupt that, both in terms of leadership discussion and the physical capacity to do this. How successful were the Israelis? We don't know. But, Iran is in a very difficult situation right now. And the longer Iran pauses it takes for them to bring forward a retaliation, and the more Israel doubles down on its strike, the greater the odds are that there's a debate taking place inside Iran about what the next step should be. Because it's one thing to say we will retaliate, but what happens if you're the supreme leader and the military comes back and goes, we lost that ability. It doesn't exist anymore. The Israelis got us. So now you're the supreme leader. Do you say, well, we'll double down on suicidal tendencies and continue to press forward, knowing Israel is going to wipe out our oil? What happens to the regime when the ability to generate income no longer exists? How long do you think the regime will last if there's a economic collapse followed by social collapse followed by political crisis? Because we know that within Iran there is a significant, percentage of politically active people who are against True Promise 3, who are against striking Israel, who are against a decisive confrontation with the West. And what happens when the United States weighs in, as I believe they will. I think the United States planned this attack and helped create the conditions that enable this attack. I think the United States is waiting if Iran attacks American facilities in the region, we have the Iranian foreign minister saying that they blame America, and therefore, following their logic, they should strike American targets. Is Iran going to do that now? Do they have the capacity? Now, imagine being an Iranian leader right now. And let's just assign a percentage. Let's say that 40% of your ballistic missile capability has been eliminated. You're trying to put together, your strikes, but now to deliver the knockout blow against Israel, you now have to use resources that may have been allocated. You remember Professor Morandi, we have identified the targets. We have identified the resources. We are ready to strike now. No, you're not, because you haven't. You may have identified the targets. You no longer have the resources. You have to reallocate, replan. And if you've suffered attrition, can you take out Israel and the United States? And do you really want to bring the United States into this point? Because you don't have enough missiles anymore to do both. The United States is sitting there with the knockout blow. We know that General Kurilla has already briefed the President of the United States on military strike options. The United States has positioned itself. We've evacuated personnel. We are ready to launch a military strike against Iran that includes a nuclear strike capability. I'm just here to tell you, Danny, when this is done, Firdos will be destroyed. Either the Iranians will give it up, or it's going to go boom. But this doesn't end with Iran, having anything left. Iran's only hope at this point, is that they can launch a knockout blow against Israel, that they can follow through on what they said and bury Israel in a wave of conventional munitions that brings Israel to the cusp of absolute destruction. And Israel pleads the United States to intervene and bring this war to an end. But if Iran can't do that, we're looking at the final days of the Iranian regime. I warned Professor Morandi about this. I did. I was on your program. And I said, you're fooling around, you're going to find out. Oh, no, we're allowed to do that. You're not allowed to have any of the things you said you wanted to have. Not by law. It doesn't matter if it's hypocritical. It doesn't matter. I'm just stating the straight up facts. Iran fooled around. It found out Israel has pulled the trigger on a regime change operation. And this doesn't end until the regime is gone. And the only way the regime can survive is to put Israel at existential threat. And I don't mean with nuclear weapons. I'm here to just make another statement. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Iran will never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Remember, this is just Israel attacking. You know who's better than Israel? You know who's a whole bunch better than Israel? America. We are 10 times better than Israel. We're better prepared. We're stronger, more, and we haven't even weighed in yet. And when the time comes, if Iran plays a silly game, we're coming. But Iran can't get out of this. Here's the trap. And the Israelis know this. If the Iranian regime doesn't retaliate against Israel, if they go along with the diplomatic out, it will collapse from within. The Islamic Republic will have lost all credibility. The Khamenei will be seen as a weak leader, an indecisive leader. The theocracy will be seen as incapable of, and it will collapse. There are many forces waiting, and we've talked about this before. There are many forces waiting in the wings to come in. This was the case with Assad. Many forces waiting till the conditions for the collapse of Assad took place. If you don't think the Israelis and the United States have carried out significant preparation of Iranian society, stressing ethnic difficulties, ethnic differences, promoting, monarchists and other things as alternatives. Think again. That's all been happening. This is a struggle of existential proportions for Iran, and this isn't a small thing that happened. This is a huge attack against Iran, a massive attack against Iran. And the United States hasn't even brought its military capacity to bear. And that would be the next level. If Iran attacks American bases, we take Iran out. If Iran attacks oil infrastructure of neighboring nations, we take Iran out. And there's no, Iran's great Russian-aided missile defense system will shield it. It's gone. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. The Israelis launched a brilliant attack. I condemn it. I condemn it wholeheartedly. I didn't want this to happen. This is why I got so angry at people like Sonny Thang and all the other idiots out there who were saying, because this is what will happen. This is what happens when you think you can stand up and say, oh, we're allowed to have nuclear. Guys, this is real. This is the real world. And this is what's happening. Iran fooled around and they're finding out. And I'm very sorry for this. I didn't want this to happen. This is why I said Iran has no choice but to negotiate in good faith for a for a nuclear program. But it appears that the United States wasn't serious about that to begin with, too.
Yeah, the United States was using Times of Israel, the media saying, the Western media saying that these negotiations, Israeli media especially, is saying that these negotiations were used to lull Iran into this kind of false sense that a strike was not going to happen imminently. And here we are.
Well, we knew that Trump surrounded himself with the most pro-Israeli people possible. And we knew that these pro-Israeli people embrace a policy or a policy posture that positions Iran to be the great enemy. And we know that Israel believes that it can't survive. The greater Israeli project can't survive as long as there's an Islamic Republic. We knew all that. I guess, we were led to believe that the United States government was seeking peace to disentangle itself from the Middle East. Well, my God, and Danny, we are now knee deep into this. If you think there's going to be military resources suddenly freed up to go off against you, this is insanity. What I don't know is what would have happened, and I tried to articulate this, if Iran had just come in from the start, instead of this stupidity. I know pride. I understand pride. We're all proud. But the Iranians came in acting as if they can fight. They came in saying, okay, we'll negotiate, but if you don't, we got this, that, and the other thing. You don't have anything left, Iran. I mean, what do you got left? What if Iran had come in from the very start saying, we want 3.75% enrichment, but we're willing to do X, Y, and Z, and stopped with the hostility, stopped with the Shamkhanis going out there and making statements and other people making statements, stopped with the posturing that only waves the red flag. If you wave the red flag in front of the bull long enough, the bull will charge. The bull is now charged. I don't know if the United States never was serious about this. I mean, this is a fair question. This is a fair question. Now, I will tell you this. First of all, Donald Trump has destroyed American credibility across the board. Who will ever negotiate with us again? Who? There are difficult negotiations to be had out there. For instance, if you're the Russians, and I've been advocating that the Russians, sit down with the United States and talk about, arms control and all this. Why would the Russians ever do that now? Because the United States has been proven to be liars, straight up liars. Even for someone like me who advocates negotiated settlement, here Sonny Thing may have a point. Scott, how can we even talk about negotiation if the United States is incapable of doing this? If the only thing the United States knows is duplicity to set up military action, then every nation should probably assume up front that it's going to be a military, it's going to be a military confrontation. Would Iran have been better? I will tell you this: Iran would have been better to launch a preemptive strike against Israel. I mean, and I think Professor Morandi spoke about it. Why wait for Israel to do this? Why give Israel the chance to do this? Why not just destroy everything up front and put Israel and the United States in a bind? Well, the answer is because the United States will end up nuking Iran, which I believe we're going to end up doing anyways, by the time that either the regime collapses and voluntarily gives up this capacity, or we will use the weapons necessary to eliminate this capacity. But either way, this capacity will no longer exist. But we've destroyed the credibility of the United States. We have no credibility, none whatsoever. The president's stupid tweet will go down in history as the nail in the coffin of American credibility, because Marco Rubio and everybody was out there saying, we didn't have anything to do with this, hands clean. No, not us, not us. The president came out and said, no, we've been literally planning with Israel for years, giving them the weapons to assassinate people, kill people, destroy infrastructure, and we did this. He brags about it. I talked with Judge Napolitano. I said, if Marco Rubio was presenting the defense of America, saying, no, we didn't have anything to do with this, blah, blah, blah. Then the Iranian prosecutor came up and put the president's statement. Where's that defense go? It's out the wall, out the window. It's gone. So this condemns America. I mean, and this is bad for me as an American who has been saying that America could be a force for good, that America has the potential to, be seen as a legitimate player when it comes to, using negotiation and diplomacy to achieve nonviolent outcomes. That's out the window. The United States of America apparently is only capable of one thing: violence. And the president has proven that.